Well, season's greetings to each and one of my followers here on YouTube. So I gotta say, I'm wishing all of you guys to have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. But before we end the year, let's do the top 10 best movies of the year. Well, this is going to be personally the movies that I really liked and decide, these movies really did do a great impact in the film community. But these are the top 10 lucky movies that actually really do hit me hard, or actually were the ones that really did touch me or even made me feel connected to one of these ones. Let's just have fun and see what we got. Starting with... Coming in number 10 is going to be Night House. Night House was a movie that I honestly had little expectations about this film, but ever since I saw that trailer and seeing the poster, everything about that movie, I was like, okay, this is actually going to be really good. Because Rebecca Ferguson, she's been killing it lately these days, and not only with this one, and also she did Dune, which I almost forgot I wanted to put Dune into the top 10, but something with Night House, it's fantastic. If you love those type of thriller movies, then I highly recommend you check out Night House. Coming in number 9, before I mention the movie, I want to give a huge shout out to Hockey Guy 1. Thanks to him and actually recommending me these movies to watch before the actual new one came out. But then afterwards, when I saw the movie, I'm like, I'm still going to give it a watch. And, frankly, this is actually my first one I actually got to see in theaters. And that's going to be No Time to Die. No Time to Die. Quite frankly, I actually got to see the Daniel Craig movies before I actually seen this one. And honestly, with this one, I'm glad I was introduced to these James Bond films in order to watch this one. Because this one, believe it or not, it actually was a great conclusion to the James Bond films from the Daniel Craig. A pretty good send-off and everything what the movie has done from its action, from its characters. I mean, it's wonderful. Like, if you're a massive James Bond fan, or if you want to be introduced to James Bond, then definitely check out their movies. Or if not, just check out the Daniel Craig films, because those were fantastic. Coming at number 8, honestly, I gave a second rewatch, and ever heard the term is you got to give a second chance to someone or something, because Encanto was actually one of those movies. Originally, I really did not like this movie, but overall, with another rewatch I just did, and honestly, I really like this movie. This movie is just, this is what Disney does best. You watch their movies, and you do something great. And I feel like this year for Disney alone, they did such a good job with their animated films. I mean, this one and the next one I'm about to mention sooner, I feel like Encanto is one of those. Great animation, great songs, great characters. I mean, everything what Disney Animation has done. Honestly, they're actually getting to the point that they could be even better than Pixar. But overall, congratulations with Encanto, because Encanto was just so wonderfully beautiful. Coming in number 7, now honestly, this one was the biggest surprise for me of the year. Because honestly, I did not know any about this one. I did know that the people who wrote John Wick did this one, and that's going to be Nobody. Nobody was a... I love this movie. And when movie theaters started opening up, this was one of the movies I actually got to see twice because of how good this one was. Bob Odenkirk, the action stuff, everything, the killer soundtrack it had. This is definitely one of those movies that I do highly recommend you watch. I mean, biggest surprise of the year. I mean, I originally said that was Free Guy, but honestly, no. Nobody actually does. I would say Nobody was the biggest surprise of the year. I mean, that was the one movie that really surprised me the most, but Nobody was actually pretty good. Number 6, when the Academy Award season comes out, I think the only person who I do think does deserve the Oscar for Best Actress, and that's going to be Kristen Stewart, because Spencer was that movie. I honestly heard the buzz about this movie and wanted to know what the whole fuss was about, but then when seeing that movie, I'm like, this is just one of the most well-done films I've ever seen in the year. I mean, if people said this is good, then I really didn't. Then I just wanted to check it out for myself, because Spencer was just so good. Definitely worth the watch. I mean, the cinematography, the costume design, Kristen Stewart giving her best performance in the movie. Definitely do think she deserves that Oscar for Best Actress. But yeah, definitely check that one out if you have the chance. Now we're in the top 5. Honestly, this was the most difficult part for me, because all these movies from... honestly, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, they all could be number 1, because all of them were just so good. And honestly, I had to flip a coin to decide which one I loved, which one I really loved, and which one I thought was the best one of the year. But overall, honestly, both 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 can be number 1. Because let's just start with it. Coming in number 5 is going to be the recent new movie, SpiderMan No Way Home. SpiderMan No Way Home is actually one of the best Spider-Man films since Spider-Man 2, directed by Sam Raimi. Spider-Man No Way Home is just a culmination of what they did with the MCU Spider-Man and seeing Tom Holland progress as Spider-Man and Peter Parker. This movie is just, the more I think about this movie, the more happy I was that I actually managed to see this movie. And so far, I've already seen it 3 times, and everything what the movie has done is just so great. It's emotional. It's action packed. Everything that you want in a Spider-Man movie is in this one, and it's a true love letter to all the Spider-Man fans, both old and new. And you're just in for a good time. Spider-Man No Way Home, definitely loved it. Now, coming in number 4, it's going to be another comic book film, and honestly, this one was actually one of my favorite ones of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that's going to be Shang-Chi Legend of the Ten Rings. Shang-Chi Legend of the Ten Rings was honestly one of those movies that I was not interested, but then when watching the movie, I honestly took back what I said, and I really, really, really loved the movie. From its incredible action scenes, the martial arts, all these actors doing a good job, especially from Sim Lu, Awkwafina, or Tony, did just a phenomenal job. And the more I watch this movie, the more happy I am because of how great we actually have a good origin Marvel movie since the first Iron Man. Shang-Chi is just, it's great. Just definitely watch it. Coming in number 3, honestly, the more I thought about this movie, the more it was going to be in my top 5, but I'm glad it's still stuck in my top 5. And it was originally my number 1 favorite movie of the year, but then another movie came out, and that's going to be A Quiet Place Part 2. Quiet Place Part 2, another great follow-up to the original masterpiece directed by John Krasinski. A Quiet Place Part 2 takes what made the original one so good. It's a thriller, it's suspenseful, all the actors do a good job, and everything what this movie has done, this was a true comeback to cinemas. Besides from Raya and the Last Dragon, Nobody, and Godzilla vs. Kong, I feel like A Quiet Place Part 2 was the only thing that made me want to go back to the movie theaters. Seeing it and experiencing it with the crowd. I think this is what John Krasinski wanted, was for everyone to experience this on the big screen, and he did such a great job with this film. I loved it. Can't wait to see what to do with Part 3, but overall, definitely love this movie, so loved it. Number 2, all in all, when it comes to the year of animation, there's only going to be that one animated film that's still stuck with me the most. And earlier this year, we got one incredibly awesome animated film that's brought by Disney, and that's Raya and the Last Dragon. Raya and the Last Dragon, I can say why I love this movie. From its incredible animation, from its amazing characters, from its beautiful message about trust, and it's so good. Like, the more I watch this movie, the more happy I am, and the more that this one is just so good. And everything is just, I just really love this movie. And definitely, as of right now, it's now my favorite Disney movie of all time. With a movie like Raya and the Last Dragon, it definitely is that one movie that I'm glad I actually got to see this one both at home and at theaters at the same time, because this was the true welcome back to theaters. But Raya and the Last Dragon, definitely loved it. Can't wait to see what they do more, but definitely was worth it. Now, coming in number 1, what's my favorite movie of the year so far? Honestly, I thought of this one, and I kept bouncing around saying, like, who was going to be my number 1 favorite movie of the year? Like, honestly, was it going to be Spider-Man No Way Home? Was it going to be Quiet Place Part 2? But fortunately, who was my favorite movie of the year? Well, none other than The Suicide Squad. James Gunn, you really knocked it out of the park with this one. The Suicide Squad was a movie that I honestly I was a little bit optimistic, but after watching it multiple times, actually, this is the first movie I ever got to see 4 times in the theater, and I loved everything about this movie. From its incredible action scenes, from its heartwarming moments, from its wonderful balance of the characters, everything what this movie has done. James Gunn did a phenomenal job, and honestly, I think this is better than any of the Guardians of the Galaxy films, and definitely think this is a true thing that what DC does best. Make fun movies like this and Shazam. It's wonderful. Like, everything what the Suicide Squad has done for this one, it truly was not just the best comic book movie of the year, but definitely my favorite movie of the year so far. And hopefully to see more movies like this in the near future. So that's going to be all my top 10 best movies of 2021. What are your favorite movies of this year? And as always, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to each one of you guys. And I hope to see you next time for movies.